talk to Gage.
Hi! It's been a minute. I haven't made a video in like a good handful of weeks now. And I saw my brother over at Lo-Fi Film Lounge do a video titled Top 10 Scariest Movies. And that honestly sounded like a really fun idea. So totally being honest right now, I'm absolutely stealing that video idea. And make sure you go check out Lo-Fi Film Lounge's version of this video. I'm gonna link it in the description and throw it in cards or something all around here. So y'all make sure you go check that out. But without further ado, let's just dive in and let's try to make this a pretty well-paced video. So coming at number 10 is Cannibal Holocaust. This is a movie that kind of speaks for itself. It's pretty notorious for being one of the most intense, scary movies of all time. One of the most disturbing movies of all time. And it's one that I have indeed seen. There was a video idea I've had, I don't know if it'll come to fruition, but it's this idea of like watching all these movies that are notoriously over the top, notoriously disturbing, and then doing a video kind of talking about it, all of them. This is one of them though. And it's coming in at number 10 because I just think everything above it has impacted me more. But while watching this movie, I legitimately felt kind of ill. And that's something I can't say about most movies I have seen. This one disturbed me to the point of like I had to like pause it at different parts just because I was feeling just so like I was gonna throw up or something. Like it was the closest I've come to a movie getting me to that point. Because like a lot of the stuff actually is happening. Now of course no cannibalism is actually going on, but they actually do kill animals live on screen, you know, like you actually see it, and it's pretty crazy, it's intense, it's really disgusting. The movie itself is fine. I think it's okay. It's interesting. You know, it's like it's one of those situations where the movie is very hypocritical because it's critiquing things that it's doing within its own filmmaking, but on the other hand, it's an interesting message that's kind of cool. So these movies, by the way, are not necessarily all great movies or amazing, you know, 10 out of 10s. These are just an escalating list of movies that kind of freaked me out or disturbed me. But coming in at number 9 is Come and See. Now this is, I think, the only movie on my list that is not a straight up horror movie. It's not defined as a horror movie, but I had to include it because it is one of the most scary and disturbing movies I have ever seen, and I almost think that it deserves the title of a horror movie. So yes, Come and See is basically this movie about this kid, pretty sure he's 13, and he's going through and experiencing these just the most heinous atrocities you could ever imagine being committed during wartime, and it's really deeply disturbing. It's also the way that the movie sounds and looks. It really makes you feel what the kid is feeling in the movie, and it is a movie that really shook me to my core and disturbed me, and I highly recommend it. This is actually probably the best in terms of quality, in terms of like my recommendation. Come and See is probably the best movie on this list, and it's actually number 4 in the top 250 on Letterboxd. So that's kind of cool. Coming at number 8 is The Blair Witch Project. Now, this is a movie that I thought Gavin was including in his list, but he actually added the remake movie, and that one is not as scary. It's not as scary, Gavin. I'm just kidding. But yeah, The Blair Witch Project, I mean, it's a classic. You know, what is there left to say? I mean, there are people who love it, people who hate it. I think it's a really cool movie. It's very scary. And a lot of that fear comes from you having to put yourself in the shoes of someone who walked into the theater thinking this was real, because that was their whole marketing thing. They were trying to get people to believe this is a real thing that actually happened. This is real found footage. And I don't know, I'm able to get myself there usually when I watch it. I know it's not real, but it's the sort of letting your imagination run wild. And you know, like that's what movies are for, in my opinion, you know, letting your imagination run wild and imagine the possibilities. And with this movie, that's what I do. I watch it just thinking, what if it was real? You know, and like it's cool. It's really cool. It's a really creative, low budget film that I respect a lot, honestly, for what it was able to do at the time. And yeah, it's pretty freaky. I mean, it escalates gradually, but if you can immerse yourself in it, it's a movie that takes you through a wild ride that's escalating in terror. So So coming at number 7 is a movie I have talked about on the channel before, and that's the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Deeply disturbing movie, of course. I mean, that is the best way to describe this thing. It's just, it's a movie that never stops. Once everything really gets going and everything gets loud, it ramps up and up and up, and it's just insanity. Pure insanity. And I think it's so disturbing because it's a movie that basically puts these people in front of you and says, like, this is how bad we can become. You know, humans are not immune to becoming like animals. They're not immune to becoming monsters. And the way that this is shot, the way that it tries to get you to believe that this actually happened, that this is like based on a true story, really does kind of hit home. It's not all based on a true story. This movie was really just inspired by the serial killer Ed Gein, I believe is his name. But a lot of the events of the movie don't actually happen. So I know that. At the end of the day, we know all these are movies. But it's a film that just deeply, it taps into something very psychological, at least in my opinion, whenever I watch it. And it's something that whenever I finish it, I always like walking outside, especially if there's like a sunset, and I just love to stare at it. Like, I've done that both times, like, or 2 of the times out of 3 that I've watched this movie, just in this year alone, I would finish it and then walk outside and just be like, man, life is beautiful. Because it's just so freaking terrifying and horrific while you're watching it. So I really like this movie a lot. Y'all know that. I do recommend it, but viewer be warned, it is kind of scary. Coming at number 6 is the first movie on my list that was also on Gavin's list, and that is Hereditary. We agree on this one. This movie is pretty freaky. This was a movie that really freaked me out after I watched it, because like it's got like a heavy tone the entire way, but then once you especially get through all the final act stuff, things really get freaky. A lot of it is just kind of showing you scary things. It's not necessarily like all these jump scares, but it's something that's very, I think Gavin put it best. He said it's subtle, and I agree. It is a very subtle form of horror, and generally I prefer that. I prefer things that are, you know, more realistic, more experiential, you know, more, here's something that's really scary, like a visual. And I think that's how it should be. I mean, movies are a visual medium, so you should freak us out with things that are scary visually. And I don't know, I haven't seen it in a while. I've only seen it the one time, but I just remember the way it made me feel, and I remember it being surprisingly scary. So yeah. So coming in at number 5 is a movie that's probably on nobody's list, and that is The Return of the Living Dead. Most of y'all watching this, if you have seen this movie, are sitting there thinking to yourselves, how is that in your scariest? How's that number 5? You know, how's that above everything we've talked about so far? As a whole, it's not that scary. I will admit that. But there is something that happens in this movie, and there's an idea it plays with that does freak me out quite a bit. And honestly, it stuck with me a lot since watching it. And it's this idea that you can be dead without really knowing it. And like, that sounds weird, right? But it's something this movie toys with and plays with that to me, I found it to be beyond terrifying and existential and just insanely freaky. You know, just this idea of like something could be so medically wrong with you, and you feel wrong, but like you don't realize how far bad it is. And it taps into that to an amazing degree. Most of this movie is actually pretty campy, pretty goofy, and you know, you can have fun with it, but it's got like, there's something in there, man, that's kind of freaky too. Besides just, you know, the themes of, you know, being dead and not knowing it. But yeah, it's just something that really freaked me out and disturbed me when I first watched it. Really, really taps into something in me that just freaks me out. So yeah. Coming in number 4 is The Babadook. This is a movie I watched not too long ago, and yeah, it's pretty freaky. I also really did like this movie. I know a lot of people don't, but I thought it was really freaky, dude. Like, the tone of this movie, man, it's thick. It was a movie that I was really scared while watching it the entire time. I was like, oh man, like, it just, you are kind of consumed into this, like, these bad feelings. I think that's what the movie's all about. You know, it's about this unknowable, unseeable force that just kind of infiltrates infiltrates your life and infiltrates those around you and your family and your lifestyle, and just kind of makes you feel bad. And that's what this movie is really tapping into. And I don't know, it was a movie that I think anyone can relate to, you know, if they can see into the themes. And if you do, like, if you've ever had, like, you know, any like familial trouble, or again, it's really kind of deeply disturbing to me, especially where it goes, again, the final act, really, really scary. Now, I will say it has a better ending than some other movies on this list, but yeah, this one definitely like freaked me out while I was watching it. Like, I was actually kind of like, didn't even want to look at the screen, which is really impressive too, because it's not like a jump scare, you know, filled movie or anything. So that's always really impressive. So yeah, Babadook, pretty freaky. Coming in number 3 is Skinamarink. I have had a crazy arc with this movie. I started out really not liking it, thinking it was bad, did not enjoy it. And then years later, this year, I watched it again and my mind has been blown. And I am now a Skinamarink believer. You know, like it really, my perspective on this movie has changed dramatically. And now I really like it. But the scares. So the way I watched it, the first time is I watched it with my brother, and the entire time I was just sitting there wanting to fall asleep. The second time I watched it by myself, and it was probably around midnight. Watched it by myself, and I really tried to get into it and immerse myself. And that really worked. That really did a lot to make me quite terrified of this movie, because when you watch it with other people, Skinamarink doesn't really work as well, because the entire time, you know, you're thinking about what your buddies are thinking, and what, all this is not that scary. You're just kind of staring at walls, right? When you watch it by yourself, I think it really starts to get you trapped. You start to feel just as trapped as these kids do in their house. The way this movie handles sound and sound effects, and it's very cerebral. It very much taps into your brain and it's really an experience. And that's why I think I love it so much, is that it's a movie that you're not just sitting down like, oh, look at the scary zombie, look at the scary creature, you know, but you're really watching it and feeling how like freaking terrifying it feels. You feel it. And I think that's really impressive for a director to get you to feel how he got me to feel. Like, that's something that I think is really incredible. Really freaky movie. Okay, so my top 2, these ones are pretty special in their own ways. And these are also some movies that Gavin also had on his list. So coming in number 2 is Lights Out. And when Gavin made his video, he was talking about how he was like, you know, people might make fun of me for thinking Lights Out is scary. No, like, y'all are insane if you don't think this movie is kind of freaky as frick. Like, it basically, the reason why my top 2 are what they are is because they're movies that have stuck with me. And not just they've stuck with me, but the horror that they present in their movies have stuck with me, and I still think about them. And Lights Out, in my opinion, is the scariest PG-13 horror movie ever made. It's a movie that when you're done watching it, you're gonna go home and you're gonna turn on your light and you're gonna start looking really closely at everything in your room, because you're really scared that there's gonna be someone standing there. And that's what this movie, maybe it's cheap, maybe it's gimmicky, frick it, it's scary. It's scary as frick, and it worked on me. So yeah, Lights Out to me is super scary. Every time I watch it, I just never want to turn the lights out again. Because the dark's scary, bro, like it is. And sometimes, like, it's not like the movie's still, like, it's constantly like a fear over my life or anything, but I will literally come in my room and turn out the light and I'll look around before I walk to my bed. Like, that's how traumatized I am, because I watched this when I was younger. I watched it when I was a kid, and I'm still traumatized by it to this day. So yeah, Lights Out, number 2. And coming at number 1, I have historically always said this is the movie that has scared me the most growing up, and that's Paranormal Activity. Look, it is scary, guys. It really is. Now, I think this movie's hold on me is slowly waning over time. I do think that the more I watch it, the less scared I become of it, because I've seen it probably 3 or 4 times now. It still is scary, obviously. It's still a movie that gets me a little bit. It's just this fear of like something you can't see, something that's not there and so subtle, but it's still there. It still does things. And yeah, like, people make fun of these movies all the time. I'm kind of a defender of them. I kind of like found footage. I kind of like these movies. I do think that that they are pretty scary. You know, a lot of people will watch them and think that nothing happens and that, you know, makes them boring. You know, the last act's always the best. I kind of like it. I think the subtlety kind of works. I think it being super minimalistic actually adds to it in a way. And yeah, it's been overdone to frick now, and I know that. And I haven't watched every Paranormal Activity movie. I've only seen the first 3. But this is still my favorite one. And this is still the scariest movie I've ever seen. It's the one that's affected me the most. Imagine Lights Out, but on steroids. You know, it was a movie that as a kid growing up, again, I would just like be so freaked out. Like, what if my blanket like suddenly starts floating? You know, my bed floats or my blanket gets thrown off, or, you know, like that crap like went through my mind, you know, and I still think about it. I still think about it from time to time. It's just a freaky concept, and the presentation being trying to be ultra realistic kind of worked on me, guys. I'm not gonna lie. There's a reason why this movie became a franchise. There is, you know, not necessarily because they're all amazing movies, but just because it was a good idea and it worked. It was pretty scary. So, oh, and some honorable mentions. There was like 3 other movies that I thought kind of fit in here. The Fly, Human Centipede 2, and Saint Maud are all 3 movies that also have kind of scared or disturbed me, but they didn't quite make the cut. They didn't quite make top 10. But yeah, that's my list. I hope y'all enjoyed it. I will see y'all next time. I'll be back.